Hello and welcome to Cutting to the Bone.
I just dropped the lighter.
Oh, see, that's the difference between you and I.
Well, I'm drinking out the bottle. Right, okay, do you want to start that again?
Hello and welcome to Cutting to the Bone in the post-truth apocalypse. I'm Ben, and as always, I'm hanging out with Mike.
Hello.
And Claire.
Hey.
And this week we're joined by special guest Pete.
Hey, how's it going?
So today
Welcome, Pete.
Welcome, Pete.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Trying as a foursome. See how it goes. I'm not in the middle. Okay. This is Today we're going to talk about Robin Hood. Ye olde Robin Hood, which is a pub down at Ironbridge. The legend of, and we'll probably have a little touch on the films as well at some point.
Yeah.
My favourites, all of them. Well, 3 of them.
I'm hoping that one of them is Men in Tights.
Yes.
Thank God for that.
Obviously.
Thank you. First we'll welcome some new and returning listeners, and then we'll crack on with the main cut and thrust of it. So where shall I start? Oh, Moscow in the Russian Federation. Dos Vidania, comrade. Shrewsbury in the United Kingdom, Los Angeles, California, Krakow in Poland, San Francisco in California, oh, New Taipei in Taiwan, province of China. Is Taiwan a province of China?
They claim it is, yeah. It's a bit disputed, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was his own country. Katu in Brazil, Accra in Ghana, Quezon City in the Philippines, Helsinki in Finland, Chiswick in the United Kingdom, Frankfurt am Main in Germany,
Tomsk.
Tomsk in the Russian. Got some Russian listeners this week.
Tomsk.
Tomsk. Damn you, Tomsk. It's like the shitty
Russian sat-nav.
Russian sat-nav. You have Maudi on a discount. Damn you, Tomsk. It's a Korean grain carrier. Just.
It's always divert you into the Baltic Sea.
Yes, it always takes you to the German border. Toledo in Germany. Toledo in Spain. What am I doing? Nars, Michigan. Alca de Henares in Spain, Indianapolis in Indiana, Guadalajara, Spain, Croydon in the United Kingdom, Stone Mountain, Georgia, High Wycombe, that's a new one. Someone in High Wycombe's binging the podcast.
Binge
Welcome.
away.
Charlotte in North Carolina, and Ashburn, Virginia, number 1, they have been, I'd say he or she, but that leaves too much open to interpretation nowadays. So let's assume that...
Ashburn.
Thank you very much for listening. Let's go to Robin Hood then. What do we know about Robin Hood?
We're men in tights.
Tights.
Sherwood Forest.
He lives in Sherwood Forest.
With his band of merry men.
He's the Prince
Maid
of
Marian.
Thieves.
He was known for, obviously, the great oak in Sherwood Forest, which he was known to have dwelled in at some point. They made out, obviously, he lived in there, but he didn't. He hid in there from time to time because it had a great...
It was very girthy.
Yeah, it was very girthy. It is actually about... I don't know the exact dimensions, but I know it's a good 5 or 6 metres diameter. It is huge.
Get in it.
It's massive. It really is huge. I have seen it. I was a lot younger, so that 5 or 6 metres might be 3. But it was that.
Yeah.
That big.
And of course he robs from the rich and gives to the poor.
Which I know you love, Mike, because
Well,
that
he's
makes
the
it a
world's first communist,
proto-communist. Although I very much doubt... Because, this has always been my problem with Robin Hood. I'm going to get this off my chest right now.
Okay.
Right? I'm Robin Hood. Here you go, Mike. Here's 400 quid. You're rich now.
Yeah.
Say you're rich.
Yeah, but you're not though, are you?
Say you're rich.
No, but you're not.
You are with 400 guineas, mate. Back in them days, you are. You're fucking well off.
Yeah, but he distributes it equally, doesn't he? Just he doesn't give it to one person.
But now they're all rich.
No, but they're not rich, are they?
They're rich comparatively to what they were.
No,
Then
because
he
you take...
robs them all back.
If you take £1 million from the rich person and you spread it equally among 1 million people, they're not all going to be rich, are they?
No, they'll have just enough to get through the next 6 months, maybe.
Well, what if he gives a village 1,000 guineas, which at the time would have been fucking ridiculous? They're
But
rich.
again,
now.
if it's split between the community...
I mean, he goes, that village is pretty rich. Could do some ale money for my merry men.
But he was one, from what legend tells, that was trying to make the poor people more comfortable. So that was exactly what he was doing. He
take from the greedy and the corrupt.
Exactly, to make the poor's life that little bit better.
I thought he was only attacking the people in the forest, that were going through on, in these
Oh, that's because it was the Great
high and
North
mighty
Road.
carriages.
It's probably exactly how it started, and like with most villains, in
Air quotes.
in air quotes, the more you do, the more you do, kind of thing. Like, the more you do it, the bigger it gets, and it has to be bigger each time. So you may find that he did venture out of the forest
Right.
as
That's it.
as he become more infamous and more of a following, more people, his band of merry men. I'm assuming there is some truth in that.
Yeah.
They were a right little gang, weren't they? Really,
Yeah.
a mob.
Outlaws they were, yeah.
100%.
Even in the earliest accounts, he has a gang.
Yeah.
It's not the merry men as such, but there's a gang.
That was the fantasised version, really, wasn't it?
That all comes in much later.
Yeah, there's original 4, isn't there? From the early ballads, which were written down in about 1377.
Something like that, yeah, about 1377.
I mean, they
around
may
that
have been
time.
handed down by word of mouth before then.
Oh, we're going back to about the... If you're looking at about 1170-ish for the first ballads, first oral accounts.
I mean, there's some evidence that it goes back to pagan times, because there was someone called Robin of the Wood, which protected nature. So it may have evolved over time.
Is that like a bit of a green man
Yeah,
thing?
that's it, yeah.
Because obviously the green man lives in the
That's
trees,
him.
protects the forests.
So
Yeah.
you're saying someone's just took his name as the ages have gone on and sort of
Yeah, instead of
represented-
protecting nature, now it's protecting the people.
poor, yeah, and going forward
A
like
bit
that.
like Superman. So many different people, but he's still Superman.
Yeah.
True. Already hero, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Batman's been a few people over the years.
Yeah. Superman, mate, have you seen the black and white?
I've never seen the black and white.
Yeah,
ones.
that's what Superman really goes back really far.
Oh, he's the oldest hero, isn't he?
There we go. There's a tangent.
It's our first tangent.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to Robin.
Even though our first references to Robin Hood are of rhymes or songs, the surviving early ballads were spoken and not sung. For example, the earliest Robin Hood ballad that we know of, written about 1450, refers to itself as the... it's written in Old English, so I'm going to read it as what we'd say nowadays. The Talking of the Monk and Robin Hood. Usually untitled, but scholars give it the catchy title of Robin Hood the Monk, surprisingly. There's even some debate over whether the term ballad accurately describes the early terms that most tales do, because they would be sung as well. It's drinking songs, aren't they? So you're all in the village tavern. Let's get drunk and clank our
Sat around
tankards
the
together.
fire, kind of.
Yeah, sing songs.
Right,
Claire's on the brandy. On the Baileys.
On the Baileys, just 1 litre.
You be Friar Tuck.
And then the largest and arguably most important early ballad is called A Jest of Robin Hood. And there are several printed editions after 1500, although many feel the story's older, maybe about 1460 or even more of a century earlier. The early
Yeah, that's why I got the date 1377. That's the first evidence of anyone sort of mentioning it.
It's quite a span of life, that, isn't it?
Well, what you've got to look at actually...
Lasted the ages, hasn't it?
it's
Everybody
actually-
knows who Robin Hood is.
Yeah.
Everyone around the world.
And clearly have had for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
That's
He's not just a modern myth, he's obviously a myth of the ages.
Yeah.
Well, I think he was on the most influential Britons list they did, like, back in the year 2000. Even though he's a fictional character, he's been that influential on our national psyche. I mean, who doesn't love a Robin Hood film?
Well, some of them are shite.
Well, some of them are shite. We'll get to that.
Sure.
But, but who doesn't go into the cinema thinking, ooh, Robin Hood, know what I'm getting with this?
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Even though obviously our stories have evolved from the original telling. Like, Maid Marian wasn't in it, Friar Tuck.
No.
The original 3 that were with him was Little John, Will Scarlet, and Much the Miller's son. He seems to have disappeared, doesn't he?
I think Much might be in Prince of Thieves, but only... maybe. I think he is. But he's like, it's
Brushed
mentioned...
across.
He's mentioned, like, Much, and that's his name. Go and do that, and that's kind of it.
Yeah. Will Scarlet was originally Will Scadlock. He was a lock breaker. So
That's handy.
yeah. Everyone had different skills. Like Little John was originally called Reynold Greenleaf. And obviously he's a big guy.
That was it, wasn't
Yeah, Robin's good with the bow and arrow. I'm not quite sure what Much did. Not a lot's
Not
known
much.
about
He
him.
made the bread. He's a miller's son.
Ah, there we go. He fed them. So you got a chef, you got a lockpick, you got a big man, and you got
the muscle.
Yeah.
You got the brains, Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Boom, there's your Ocean's 11.
And also the expert with the bow. 'Cause that's what else he was known for, wasn't it?
Well, the bow and arrow, of course, the longbow. But that, actually, interestingly, the earliest tales, if you go to the 1170, doesn't put us in the era of the English longbow. The 1370s does.
Yeah.
So you've kind of got... You're tying it down there. You're tying that version of Robin Hood down, certainly, to about 1370, which when the longbow started to be... everyone was doing longbow on a Sunday, which we'll get to again. I'm going to geek out about the longbow later on.
I mean, who knows, before that he might have been a good swordsman before the bow was invented.
I think he's been an all-rounder, isn't he?
Yeah.
So
he's meant to be the best bowman in the country, isn't he?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He's like number one.
That's the one thing that never changes, even back to the old days, is that he's winning archery contests left, right and centre. At a time, remember, when archery wasn't enforced at the time, if we're talking 1170 wasn't enforced, but certainly, let's face it, is a fucking great survival skill in the Middle Ages.
Most would have hunted for their own deer, etc.
That's it. Yeah,
so
yeah.
they'd have to have that skill, and that goes from being a young child, maybe 10 years old, dad teaching them how to hunt rabbits and things, if not younger. So you'd find
5,
even when
6,
it wasn't,
they'd have kiddie bows.
even when it wasn't compulsory, it was probably still very widely done.
Yeah, it's a really useful survival skill, especially if you live in a forest.
Yeah, you didn't have your kind of factories and things like that, mass production and things like that in them days. So you ate what you got. You
That's
caught,
it. Remember,
you killed. That was
You're
it.
making the bows as well, weren't you?
you made of you.
Yeah,
You were making them, weren't you?
Yeah, making them. Then you've got the fact that if you didn't have enough grain, if your harvest wasn't very good, and you couldn't store enough grain to last you the winter, you were fucked.
Yeah.
But you'd find it was also a very good trading tool because they can hunt, they can trade. Then, I can give you this deer for that sack of grain that will see me through.
Yeah.
Or the pelts. You look at the pelts to keep
Yeah.
warm, aren't you?
Yeah.
I mean, we'd have had wolves back then in this country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
So-
bears.
Yeah.
So yeah, bows were an essential part from way back, weren't they? I think as soon as someone realised, ooh, a bow.
Yeah, that
That
works.
was it, yeah, that caught on quick, didn't it?
It certainly did. So the other early ballads were Robin Hood and the Monk, which is actually one of my favourites, from what I've read.
Can we go through that one?
We can go through it, yeah. Basically, Robin's little trick was he'd be sat there in the woods. It wasn't actually Sherwood Forest, because technically Robin Hood could be a Yorkshireman, and nowhere near Sherwood Forest. So all of Nottingham's identity is built on a lie.
I know, yeah. The tricky trees.
The tricky, yeah, exactly. Nottingham Forest
Forest
Football Club.
supporter. And it's
Got
all
the
a
tree-
lie.
Got the tree as your badge.
Yeah, because they actually think he was from Barnsdale in Yorkshire, don't they?
Yeah, there's evidence to suggest he was a
Yeah.
Yorkshireman. Also, maybe a Scotsman. The Scots had tales of Robin Hood, but then again, we don't know if that's someone attributing the name to another outlaw.
Well, the name Robin Hood was a name that was given to outlaws at the time.
Oh,
That makes it
okay.
even more confusing.
Well, would the hood have had any relevance to being hidden, having a cloak on,
Always
things like
wearing
that?
a hood.
Always having your face hidden to
He's
an
a Robin
extent.
Hood, he is.
But that,
Yeah, maybe. It's a possibility. Robin.
There could be some link with that, perhaps.
Yeah,
with
Robin.
where the
He's
name.
He's Robin, yeah, Robin Hood. He's wearing a hood, Robin.
Yeah, he's like a hoodie with like a chav with a knife nowadays. They're the modern day Robin Hoods, except they're not giving it to the poor.
So he wasn't really Robin Locksley from a very, very, very rich family.
No,
No,
He
that
was a-
comes in later. He's a yeoman.
Yes.
He's a
Right.
free man at the time. Do you not
Right.
a peasant? You're not
Yeah.
aristocracy. You're kind of sat in the middle. You could
Yeah.
lower middle class, very lower middle class, just above the working class. It's the free man who's probably got some kind of income, but not a great deal. Probably making bows, in all fairness, in Robin Hood scenario. So the Ballad of Robin Hood and the Monk is in a manuscript collection written about 1450, and it's believed to be the oldest surviving written ballad of Robin Hood. It begins with Robin and Little John in the greenwood. Basically, Robin's trick was he sits in the woods with Robin, with Little John, Butch and Will, and he says, go and find me a guest for dinner. They go and they find this knight. They bring him, because this is the North Road, it is the direct route from London to Yorkshire. Remember, Yorkshire being like the second biggest political centre in the country at this point. House of York, very influential. And he's to bring this knight, and he has his dinner. Come and dine with me. Come on, sit here, share my dinner with me. It's a bit of a gratuitous thing to do when you're on the road, isn't it? Some stranger offering you food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice thing to do. He says, right, okay, give us your money. You bet, pay me. Bit of a con. He's a con artist, the early Robin. He's a grifter.
Yeah.
The knight goes, well, look, I haven't got any money. I've just actually I've had to loan 400 pounds, off the church, the monastery at St Mary's.
He owes the monastery.
I owe the monastery £400. I had to loan them. I'm actually on my way back to tell them I can't give them any money.
Because his son killed a man.
Yeah, killed somebody, and I had to pay a really expensive fine. Now, back in them days, it was alright to kill somebody, get away with it if you paid the money. Interesting. God, it's a good job that law's not enforced nowadays. I'd be skint.
Really?
Well, we don't know what
It
happened.
is in Skyrim.
Oh, yeah, true. Anyway, so...
He checks his belongings.
He takes his belongings, they got no money, checks his belongings, he's got no money, and his story checks out. Robin gives him £400, £400. Says, go and give that to the monks. Little John will escort you. Next day while they're away, a monk comes through the woods on the road. Robin does the same trick, go and find me a dinner guest to get the monk. Okay, pay up. I got no money, I'm a pious monk. They check his belongings, check his saddlebags. Oh, he's fucking got £800 on him, hasn't he? So Robin gets the £400 and and another £400, enriching himself. The ironic thing was, he's like, oh, I'm £400 out of pocket, but I'm sure Mother Mary will provide. Now, whether that's a reference to the monastery or the fact that Robin Hood was considered quite, well, everyone was Catholic back then.
Yeah.
And he's considered quite a devout Catholic in the early tales, even though he's robbing people. That it kind of works out both ways, doesn't it? Mother Mary did provide.
Yeah.
But the early tales are a lot about the church being incredibly corrupt.
Yep.
It's interesting that nothing's changed.
No, but they're not in charge anymore. It's the politicians now, isn't it? They're the ones that are greedy and corrupt.
Yeah.
I think it's modern day church. I mean, the Church of England's worth 8.7 billion, mate.
Yeah.
They got their fingers in a lot of pies, especially oil companies.
And at the time, everybody knew that the church was rotten, and but an outlaw was the only person that would dare do anything about it. So that's why he was so celebrated at the time. Stick it to the man, innit?
So in this day and age, we know where the money's going from the church. He said just like the oil companies.
But,
Should they
some
be
of it-
taxed if they're sort of like earning off that, really?
No, because churches are tax exempt.
I know they're tax exempt,
They
but
could-
they should be taxed if they're earning off like the backs of people that they're meant, they're meant to be supporting.
I know what you're saying.
What do you mean?
But the money comes back into the church coffers, therefore tax exempt. They've
They
definitely
don't
got
really
shares.
spread it about the church, do they?
No, they want donations all the fucking time. Fix the church roof. You fix it, you fuckers. Got enough?
They have a lot of charities, don't they?
Yeah.
But you have to be in the church to be of benefit to those charities.
That's it.
I think they do
They
quite a bit of
probably-
stuff around the local
They
communities,
probably
don't they?
do other stuff, but
Yeah.
if you say you're sharing the wealth, as
Oh,
such,
no.
it would only be like if one of their church members' house went on fire, they might. I don't know. They'd probably just do a fundraiser, actually, wouldn't they? They would probably help themselves.
Oh yeah, we'll get the community. We don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, get the community to pay
I'll
for
take
it.
back that statement then. Corrected myself then. I realised what I was saying as I was saying it.
No, that's not right. They wouldn't do that.
Oh dear.
But in them days, they used to collect a tithe. You had to pay
Yeah.
the church.
Well, they do that now in some churches.
Do they?
Yeah, in America, you've got to pay like 10% of your earnings to be a part of some churches.
Mormon.
Yeah, but in
The
them
Mormons do that as well.
Mormons
Yeah.
do. They have a certain percentage of their wage every month goes to the Mormon
Yeah,
church.
10%.
When
Isn't
they
it Jewish?
die, they again leave a certain percent of their will to the church.
It's the greatest con in history, man.
Yeah, my grandma-in-law.
Jewish give a certain
told me
amount of
more.
a month to a church, and Muslims.
Do they?
They pay into like a community fund through their church. Yeah, and then if they need like a new car or something, they ask the church, and then boom, they got a new car in the next little week. Or
And
if
then
they
they're
need-
in debt with the church.
well, yeah, in theory, in practice, I guess.
Yeah. two later ballads, believed in medieval in content, Robin Hood and Guy of Gisborne. That one's fun. That's like an episode of The fucking Sopranos, that one. And Robin Hood's Death. That was, if you're a listener of an older persuasion, you might have seen the film Sean Connery movie with Robin Hood. Robin and Marion, I believe it's called. And that basically gives out Robin's death as portrayed in the ballad. It's quite an interesting one.
And in one ballad, he's quite vicious. And he actually, Robin Hood, he kills a man.
That's Guy of Gisborne.
Oh, is it? He puts his head on a bow staff and mutilates the face.
Yeah, then dresses up in Guy's clothes, puts his hood up, pretends to be Guy of Gisborne, who's next to the Sheriff of Nottingham, and says, I've killed Robin Hood! There he is, there's his head, and then he kills the Sheriff of Nottingham.
But it was a hard life back then. They expected their heroes to be vicious and, you know.
Well, you wouldn't be renowned about being quite vicious, would you?
Well, it's interesting that one of the most famous, the biggest part of medieval humour came from people hurting themselves.
Oh, was it?
Apparently so, yeah. There'd be like gangs of urchins who would set up a snare in the street and trap some unsuspecting person, dangle them upside down. They'd hit him with sticks as they give them money. They all find out everyone would quit and laugh.
With a slapstick.
But a slapstick. They'd hit him with sticks as he gave them all the money he had, and then they'd let him down. But everyone would come out and laugh. Schadenfreude.
Yeah, but they all went to watch hangings and all sorts back
Entertainment
then.
back then, Claire.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, they'd sell souvenirs.
Exactly. So, you know, that seems plausible, doesn't it?
It was a hard existence, yeah.
Yeah.
It was violent.
Any enjoyment you get today, it's not me being hurt, this is hilarious. Kind of the same now, in all fairness, watching YouTube fails, isn't it?
Yeah.
Watching people hurt themselves.
Tavern lady would have to be a prostitute after hours, you know. It was a hard fucking life.
Just like it is nowadays.
Also, the chronicler Walter Bower recounts a small Robin Hood story from around 1440. So we're still sort of that sort of neighbourhood. We're talking early to high Middle Ages or Norman Conquest Britain.
Well, I mean, people were just starting to write things down now, weren't they, the monks?
Yeah, and the printing press came in what, 15-something? Sure.
Yeah, that's later on.
Yeah.
Also, you have to think, like, the monks are writing this down, and it's about someone who's killing monks and robbing them. I mean, this is how profound and huge it must have been at the time for the monks to even consider writing something like that down.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's negative to them, isn't it?
Of course.
And they were the only ones that were able to read and write in them days.
They were the ones educated, yeah. Absolutely.
I have a question. Is there an official, I say official, is there like a date that he was around? That,
Like born
that is like,
and died.
well,
Well, there's actually 4 suspects that Robin Hood could be an actual person.
right.
Go on then, take us
You
to
want me
the
to go
4
through that?
suspects, yeah.
I'm just interested because I'm trying to work out what era he is actually from. What the historians say, if he existed, this is when he existed.
If you're looking to pin it down to one definitive guy, you're talking the invention of the longbow accurately puts him around 13-something.
1323, apparently.
Okay.
Right, what's
King-
his name?
His name is Robert Hood.
Robert Hood, and that would be, what, Edward II?
Yeah, Edward
The
II.
hammer of the fucking Scots. Oh, Edward I, sorry.
He just put down the Lancaster Revolt, okay, which led Robin to being an outlaw because he was part of the revolters. And this is the only time the Sheriff of Nottingham had responsibility over Yorkshire.
Interesting. So he's like, the Lord of York's going off to fight, you're in charge, Nottingham.
Okay, and he also lived with his wife Matilda.
Lots of Matildas in the Middle Ages.
Yeah, in Wakefield they lived, which is Yorkshire. And he was a forester.
How depressing.
Okay, there's also another Robin Hood. He was a king's servant and bodyguard for Edward II. He appears on the payroll at Edward II's court in 1323. But a year later he takes 5 shillings lump sum because he can't work anymore.
Too many injuries, protecting the king, possibly.
This could actually be the same person. So he was an outlaw, he fought against the king in the rebellion.
But then,
He forgave him if he come and work for him.
yeah,
Impressed him
took the
sufficiently.
king's shilling, so to speak.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, and then there's a third suspect from Shropshire, Whittington Castle.
I
Yeah,
love it. Local lad.
in the reign of Richard the Lionheart in 1197. So it's a bit
Which
later.
would be closer to Prince of Thieves.
Yeah,
Richard
Yes.
the Lionheart.
Yeah. Richard III, Richard the Lionheart.
his name was Fulk Fitzwarreen, which is a bit of an odd name.
Hence why they probably called him Robin.
Yeah.
Because it was a bit easier for common folk to say.
Yeah.
Oi, Robin, not saying what floof, what ween?
Folk! Folk, you
It's
saying...
coming from Robin the Rich.
It could be associated with that.
Robin.
It's definitely associated with Robin, I think. Yeah.
And he was made an outlaw by King John because he wanted his land.
So this would put that Robin as a bit of an aristocrat then.
Yeah.
But then to rob, has that word not come from Robin Hood?
Well, because at the time,
Rob and such.
Robert Hood was a nickname given to any criminals and outlaws.
So that's probably where the word rob and to rob somebody,
Might
robbing
be,
someone,
yeah.
that's probably where that comes from.
He's a Robin cunt.
So you'll probably find his name's not associated with it because he's a robber. The word robber is associated with Robin Hood.
Hence loads of Robin Hoods over the times.
And there was loads of Robin Hoods over the times. They were writing that stuff down against bandits who A, didn't have a name, or call him Robin Hood, fuck it.
Well, this man, Fulk Fitzwarren, he fought a 3-year guerrilla campaign in the forests of the Welsh border.
That's impressive.
And he had a right-hand man called John.
Little John.
Little John.
Yeah. And then there's a fourth suspect, which is Robert Fitzodo, in 1196 from Locksley Manor in Warwickshire.
So that's where the connection
Robin of
Robin
Locksley.
comes
Yeah.
from in Prince of Thieves again.
Yeah, he became an outlaw, robbing from the local woods there.
I think these things have just been picked up through history, haven't they? And
Yeah.
as these people have taken on the name, it's just added to the,
Oh, it's
the
like James
myth.
Bond.
The what?
It's like James Bond.
Yeah, just different episodes of James
There's
Bond.
that
different
theory that
films.
the James Bond title is inherited. The next 007 is James Bond. That's your name now. That's kind of it. It's your identity. That's 007's identity.
Yeah.
That's why you've got different Bonds for different movies. Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't think of Bond when I referenced Superman earlier.
You should be
Bond,
disappointed with yourself.
you know what I mean? Bond also is like one for that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Change faces many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe changing gender.
And that is... God, don't. Please don't.
I don't know if I'm really that bothered apart from as
I'm
long as
not-
they do a good part. As long as they play, as long as it's someone really good, I'm not that bothered.
Yeah, but I kind of winced when I saw
Name's
Doctor
James.
Who
Jane Bond.
and the woman
James
Doctor Who.
Bond.
was
James
like,
Bond is a code name. It isn't his real name, is it?
Allegedly, his code name.
Yeah.
That's only a fan theory. That's,
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's not
Well,
canon.
no, because it originally started, it was him, wasn't it? He was James Bond. His code name was 007.
Yeah, but like,
Yeah, but if you're an international spy, you're not going to use your own name, are you? You're going to use an alias, surely.
yeah,
It
unless
can
you're
work for
Sterling Archer.
Ghostbusters, it's not going to work for James Bond. Stop it now.
Unless you're Sterling Archer, who produces like, hi, I'm Sterling Archer, internationally world famous spy, best spy in the world. You might have heard of me.
There's a gravestone in Locksley Church. That's apparently Robin Hood's resting ground. And it was stolen from Yorkshire in the 17th century, which originally was up there, so...
The best of it is though with the grave, because there's a grave in the where it's supposed. Well, not is in Nottingham the grave where it is now.
No, Locksley Church in Warwickshire.
Warwickshire. Well, what they did was like the gravestone got nicked, and then they put another one, and some people chipped that away because they thought that selling bits of Robin Hood's headstone
Yeah.
could get them a few quid.
God, I'd have it in my front room.
You don't just get a slab on it like a long fucking chip.
The whole fucking
Can I have
thing.
the Robin bit, please?
The whole fucking thing.
And then the Victorians, because they were like they loved this. The Victorians, I mean, the most nationalistic the country's probably ever been. In all fairness, with the height of the empire, Britain ruled, Britannia ruled the waves, all that. They redid it and put a proper grave in, but wrote it in fake ye olde English, proper ye olde English, like ye olde Royal Oak Pub, all that kind of crap.
Oh dear.
Well, that no one ever spoke.
Yeah.
But Robin Hood of the early ballads is very different from the Robin Hood of Errol Flynn. I don't know if everyone seen the Errol Flynn movie?
No,
I may have when I was younger, but he's...
1930s, isn't it?
Yeah, but my nan loved the old films. I'm probably got to watch it at some point.
I've probably seen it, because normally if there is any Robin Hood, when you're flicking through, I always go on to it and I'll see it like in black and white or really 60s or that. And then
Yeah.
carry on.
Apparently there's a good series from the 80s with the BBC, or there's a British one anyway. I think it's got Ray Winstone in it.
Yes, I have watched some of that.
Yeah, I've never seen it, but apparently it's good.
No, it is.
Yeah.
It is good.
I want to see Ray Winston as Robin Hood.
I've seen his Little John.
I want to see him as Robin Hood.
He might be Robin Hood.
I think he was Robin.
Is he Robin Hood, is he?
I seem to be picturing him as Robin.
Oh, listener can check on that one.
Could be making this up completely, but I have seen it. I'm sure I have. I've always been a massive fan of Robin Hood, so
Cool.
like I said, if I see anything when I'm flicking through, I always go on it. So I think I have.
What do you like specifically about Robin Hood then? What is it that...
As a kid, going back from being 3, 4, always obsessed with firearms, whether it be guns or bow and arrows, things like that.
Yeah.
And as a kid...
Oh, you're a forces brat, aren't you?
Well, yeah. Pad brat, yes. But yeah, so 2 older brothers as well, 3 years older than me. So when I started showing that kind of interest, they were old enough to be able to, like, here's a stick, here's some string, let's make a bow. Because at 4, you couldn't really do it. But your 7-year-old brothers certainly helped me. And yeah, we used to just make little bow and arrows and things like that, out of all sorts.
I remember doing it with a fucking broomstick and a bit of bungee
Well,
cord.
we tried broomstick, but it didn't work.
No, it doesn't. You gotta have a curved bow.
Yeah.
You have a recurve, but that's all you've got in it: a broomstick and a couple of and a bungee cord.
Yeah, we had some fantastic trees
and a garden cane. So I used to use. I used to use an arrow.
Use garden cane. So all you had to do was just do a little slit in the top and the bottom, and then that would get your line attached nicely.
Your notch.
Yes,
the notch in the arrow.
But it didn't. Again, wasn't very. It would bend, but it wasn't the same.
No.
We did find there was a massive tree just down the bottom of our road. There was a small. We lived in a cul-de-sac, but just off from the cul-de-sac there was a lovely little park, like a little field, playing field. It wasn't a park, but massive tree in the middle of that. And we found a perfect stick. One day had fallen off it, and we made a brilliant bow and arrow with it.
Awesome.
Well, a bow, and then made loads of little arrows. But it lasted a good couple of years. It was really good.
I've never tried archery, so...
I had a go at it, and it's not the same as shooting. I'm fine with shooting, but archery's
I love it.
different. I'd like to go and do it again and learn it properly, I must admit.
Me and my wife want to get bow and arrows, like proper ones, because they're great fun. We'd like to take it up as a hobby. We've said it for a while, but they're quite expensive.
They are.
You need a few £100 if you want something half decent. And to have that spare when you've got children and things, you never have spare £300. So,
but now the thing is, they're already gears and pulleys now.
Not too bothered about them.
No, I would demand you do it the old-fashioned way.
That's what I mean. I'm not too bothered about all the weights and counterweights. I'd rather have a bow with some arrows. None of this fancy technical shite.
It pisses me off in the Olympics, actually.
They're a bit technical.
It's like, all these different counterweights and gears and pulleys.
Almost anyone could hit that bullseye.
Yeah, give me an hour, I'll start hitting that bullseye.
Yeah, a few goes, get your eye in, know where you've got to do it.
It's not the same.
Having that sturdy hand and that, it's a skill.
It's a strength, you've got to have the strength to pull the bow, that's the point.
There is a lot to it, but I don't think it's an Olympic sport, because I think the way they've got the bows now, it's so over-aided.
That's it.
Any person can pick up one of those bows and hit a bull. I've done it myself. At Rico, there was an open day at the factory at Rico.
Yeah.
Me and Claire's brother and our kids and things like that, we all went to an open day, and they had an archery
setup.
You can go and have just go, stood there and waited and had a couple of shots, but there was a normal bow, and then there was like the composite
composite plastics, gears, pulleys, weights, cams,
all of it. And we had to go on both, because they were basically showing us the difference, how hard it was in the olden days, kind of thing. This is the kind of bow they used to use. Feel how hard it is to pull. I had a little go on that first and pretty much hit the bullseye. Not exact, but it was within touching distance, and it's like, that was a good shot, fluke. Second shot, pretty much in the same kind of area.
Some bows you have a fucking sight on.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, have you done this before? And I was like, not really. As a kid, played with bows, but then we had a little go on the composite bow, and it was just like, There was no strain. It didn't take any real effort to pull it back. You got to about where you kind of hold it. Cause they put the big glove on.
Yeah,
it's
you
got
got
the twangy.
I can't remember what that's called now. Shit, that's going to bug me. I'll get to that.
It's got that hook, hasn't it, there, so you don't even use your fingers to do it.
Yeah.
You just go, hey, let go, and it twangs away. But with the composite bow, it was effortless in comparison, certainly.
Yeah.
Much more fun, the original way, I thought.
I mean, the whole point, Robin Hood, literally the guy uses archery. Remember the Disney film?
Yeah.
One of my favourite films as a kid, obviously.
Yeah.
It's all, and it's pretty
Yeah.
much, apart from Prince of Thieves, it is pretty much the staple, that tale, that ballad.
Yeah.
It is pretty much the staple of many a Robin Hood.
Of course, it's world
Story.
famous, isn't it? It's Disney.
Well, yeah, but before that, Robin's always entering archery tournaments
Yeah.
in disguise. Even Little John gets in on it. Because they're all quality archers. They've been doing this since they were kids. But these guys make a living out of it.
He's dressed as a pelican, isn't he?
Yes.
Yes, he is. Fucking hell.
Stork, is it?
A stork.
Stork's
A
it,
stork.
yeah.
He pulls a...
He's got a big nose on him.
He's on stilts, isn't he?
That's right.
Spot on.
Yeah.
Stork.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't always rob from the rich to give money to the poor, and he probably doesn't fight to overthrow Norman tyranny. But he would fight with Little John in the ballads. For example, Robin and Little John argue in the ballad Robin Hood and the Monk because Robin refuses to pay up on a friendly wager. Twat. In another ballad, Robin picks a fight with a simple potter and Robin loses. And against true enemies like Guy Gisborne, Robin Hood is more violent than modern Robin Hood fans would come to expect. Hence the whole cutting off the head and mutilating the face and then sticking it on your bow staff.
Yeah.
Bit temperamental, isn't he?
Yeah, that's from a ballad of Robin the Beheader. That dates are actually 868 AD, which is centuries before the first literary reference to Robin Hood. But there is a ballad called Robin the Beheader. So we may go back even
It says,
further.
however, despite what some interviews promoting the 2010 Russell Crowe film have claimed, there is no record of
Oh,
it.
man. Oh, well, okay.
Yeah, so that's...
Just ruining all my fantasies right now.
But
I'll tell you where he first came when he started to give money to the poor. He came from a play in Whitsun in the Middle Ages. They used to do... What's that thing with the cloths and the...
Are you going to fucking bring Morris dancing?
That's it.
Morris
You know my hatred for Morris dancing, Mike.
It's that sort of...
It should be fucking banned. It's stupid.
Britain's favourite pastime.
Look, there are several
That was a
cultures.
joke. That was sarcasm, by the way.
There are several cultures that have wonderful tribal dances.
Yeah,
right?
Morris dancing's definitely not one of
No.
them.
You go the hacker,
I was
right?
gonna say, it's no
fucking
hacker, is
awesome.
it?
I'm gonna cut your balls off and shove them in your mouth when you're dead. That's there's loads of African tribal dances. I've seen Zulu many a time. The dancing in that's phenomenal, right? Britain, no. Waving handkerchiefs, clashing sticks together and shouting "Hey
Bells.
nonny!"
Don't forget the bells.
Don't forget the bells. You're belled up to the fucking eyeballs. And shouting "Hey nonny!"
dancing isn't
It's
dancing unless
shit, Claire.
Dancing isn't dancing unless you're stuffing balls in someone's
But it's
mouth.
called dancing. It's,
Hold on.
We're taking him out on New Year's Eve. What's going to go on?
I'm not going to stop Morris dancing, I can tell you that
Oh,
much.
you were shoving your balls into patrons' faces.
We do
That
have,
happens on every night I go out on.
we do
I'm always
have
dipping my balls in someone's drink.
Oh God! I'm going out. God damn it! I'm buying bottles.
They're surprisingly flexible.
I have to say, unless that's still not a danger.
They're almost feline.
Okay.
They can squeeze into any shape.
I need some more Baileys.
I forgot what I was going to say. God damn it! All I've got is image of you trying to put your balls in my bottle of Budweiser, trying to squeeze a bollock in there. I will get it in. I will.
And admit it, you're slightly aroused. You all are. It's marking me territory, that's all.
Fucking hell, you got a cat!
He's rubbing balls of everything.
What are we talking about before it went on to porn?
Robbing the rich and giving to the poor.
Robbing the rich and giving to the
It came
poor.
to play at Whitsun in the Middle Ages where they did...
The Morris dancing.
Morris dancing.
And my point was, there is an alternate to Morris dancing, don't forget, for the great British pastime's favourite dancey thing, the maypole.
Oh, that was shit as well.
Yeah.
That was just kids.
People still do it.
No, women.
Let's dance
Took
around
it
the
really
pole in the
seriously, didn't they,
ground
the
with
maypole?
tassels. Fuck that shit.
That was taken really seriously. If
It was back
not even that many years ago.
You know
for
what?
God's sake.
When I was in primary school, we used to have a maypole dance at the summer fete.
Yeah, we had one.
I never
at
did it
Way.
because I was like, I'm not doing that.
I don't know.
Well, at these festivities, there was a play where Robin and Marion would perform and then ask for donations to the poor. And this is first recorded in 1598 to 99. And Marion could be an alias of Matilda, which was the wife of the original suspect.
When you said
Yeah.
Matilda earlier, I did
Yeah.
think, is there a connection there? I'm glad you said that.
Mm.
Matilda was also a really common name in this period of
Very
history.
common.
Like, literally-
Common.
There was a period in English history where we went through about 3 or 4 kings in the space of 20 years, and they all married Matildas.
Ah.
And also the guys who tried to overthrow them, or usurp them, because they thought they had a better claim, they were also married to Matildas. It seems to be quite a common name. Maybe like Robin. Certainly in the ballads.
I've known a couple of Robins.
I've never met a Robin.
Yeah.
I met a Robin.
I
My sister's called Robin.
There we go.
Your sister.
Sister-in-law, yeah. Stuart's wife. She's Robin.
What of Robin's accomplices? The ballads don't always specify the number of men who follow Robin, but in Robin Hood and the Monk, Robin is told to take 12 of his best men with him. And according to the Guest, which is one of the earliest ones, or the Jest, whichever you want to pronounce it, Robin's merry men have 70, which is 140 men. And that's rather larger than most real medieval outlaw bands who only had a few members. But most of Robin's band are nameless background characters only called up when the plot requires an army, much like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Almost like the computer-generated backgrounds of extras of Lord of the Rings, only a few characters were given names. You still recognise some of them. Little John is in pretty much every story, as we said, and he's even more, almost as important as Robin himself. You got Will Scarlet, or Scarlock, or Scadlock, or Scathlock, much the miller's son, but you will not find a minstrel named Alan Adale, a jolly friar named Tuck, or Maid Marian. Now, I love Friar Tuck in the Prince of Thieves movie because he's just a lovable drunk, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's very few women in the early stories. The most important woman is the one who doesn't make a personal appearance, the Virgin Mary, Robin Hood being a devout Catholic. So, and Robin used to rob the monks, obviously, because they had all the money.
Yep.
So you might be wondering, well, why would Robin Hood go about robbing monks if he's supposed to be a good Christian? Well, as at the time of Robin Hood, ballads, the people of England were Catholics and sincerely believed in the Holy Trinity, but there was widespread resentment against corrupt monks and bishops. The Robin Hood stories basically draw up a long tradition of conventional ridicule and the humour at the expense of fat monks. That's interesting, actually, the way that's put. Mm-hmm. Because nowadays, back then, it was like, oh, those fucking monks and friars, look at those fat bastards living it up, running the show, they haven't got a fucking clue. Look at it nowadays, all the politicians, Boris, big fat fucker,
Snorting coke,
living the life, all the Tory party, all the ruling party, and actually I'm not going to put it across one party, I'm going to put it in the whole House of Parliament. They're on drugs, they live in the opulent lifestyle, they're on expenses, same as the monks were back then, innit? What do we do now? We satire politicians. I put it to you that the early Robin Hood tales are like a bit of a tabloid press against the monarchy in a way, based on an individual.
I don't know about the monarchy.
No, sorry, not the monarchy. The monasteries, the
the monasteries.
the church.
Yeah, we said earlier.
It's just anybody that's living it up when the poor are living it down. I suppose.
Yeah.
Isn't
Yeah.
it?
You're
down in the gutter.
if you're a serf,
they're eating.
Yeah, if you're a serf
bread,
on your
aren't they?
on your mud
Grain.
farm,
Yeah.
right? We shovel dung round here. Well, I'm your priest. Who made you a priest? I didn't vote for you. Sorry, I've got
Monty Python.
Monty Python. Ad-libbing Monty Python. That's, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's the same thing, isn't it? But the British, it's almost weird, the British sense of humour has always been a bit taking the piss out of those in charge of us.
Yeah.
It hasn't gone away. It's always been there. We've just carried it on all the time.
Of course. They're seen as unjust, aren't they? Unjust rulers that are living it up while we're suffering.
And there's Robin going round, stealing from them, dishing it out. Of course he's going to be a folk hero. If only more outlaws would do that nowadays. In fact, I propose to you that we form an outlaw band.
Right now?
Right now.
I'll be Robin.
No, sorry, I'm Robin.
You can do it legally now. You just got to form a political party and win, and then...
Why don't we get them to fight?
Wasn't
We
there a
can
Robin
watch
Hood
them
pie?
I don't know. It
Fight
should
over
be.
being Robin. No.
Now, what we do, I've got it. You know V for Vendetta, the Guy Fawkes masks?
Yeah.
Right? We convert those to like smiley Robin Hood faces.
So we can all be Robin, essentially.
We can all be Robin.
Like the
I don't wanna be
faceless
Robin.
man.
That's it. Well, you can be Little John, he'll have a beard.
Oh,
You know, who
You
the
can be Fanny.
You can be Fanny! John! Grab the rope! No, save yourself! Save yourself, John! Oh.
I hurt my throat doing that.
he is coughing off the fire, isn't he?
Yeah.
An emotional scene. It's emotional.
And then
move on
Robin
from that.
falls.
Of course. Other historians see Robin representing the revolts of peasant farmers. However, pretty much every story says that he's not a peasant and he does not kill landowners or advocate such action. Nowhere does he mention any conspiracy by the rich. I think these are whitewash stories as we get older, because you don't want people thinking about living up like the way you did. Imagine enough people as kids wanted to be Robin Hood. You'd overthrow the government if you all got together.
Yeah.
So they try and sort of blacklist his name almost, turn him into that. In every movie, the official line is that Robin Hood's an outlaw and should be handed in for a substantial reward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because he gives the poor, which is probably bribing the poor, if you think about it, to keep stum, here's 10 guineas, love.
Dumb, it's to keep him alive, isn't it?
Ben's saying it could be an ulterior motive just to keep,
Yeah.
just to save his own skin, maybe.
If you're robbing all the rich guys on the Great North Road back in medieval England, right, and there's like a £500 reward out for your head, right, then you're gonna give all the people who are going to grass you up, live in the villages to support
You'd
you.
give them 1,000, wouldn't you?
You go, here, here's £1,000 quid for the
Yeah.
village. Because you wouldn't want them to dob you in, you've got to make yourself more appealing than the guys putting the reward. Now, archery has been a feature of the legend from the earliest tales to today. Popular tradition has it that the longbow was a Welsh fighting tactic, and it was Welsh, thought it was English. It was adopted by the English after Edward I's wars of the Welsh in the late 1200s. It's Edward I, hammer of the fucking Scots, baby. Second line of the fucking national anthems to do with the hammer of the Scots to smite.
It is, yeah.
It is.
We don't sing that, do we?
You do not.
I think it should be changed.
So do I. I think we should start singing the national anthem. They don't want to be part of us anyway, fuck them.
No, I think we should change the national anthem. I hate the national anthem.
Oh, well, change that, yeah.
It should be Jerusalem. Everyone knows that. It's a
Well,
good song.
that is England's national anthem.
Oh, is it?
England's national anthem is Jerusalem.
Yeah, sing at the rugby, didn't they? Well, not at the did you got to save the Queen, but on the pitch with the fans
The
sing.
fans sing it because
Yeah.
it is the English national anthem. God Save the Queen is the United Kingdom's
Yeah.
national anthem.
Well, there we
So it's one of them, innit? I suppose you could choose to sing it if you want, but then if you want to sing the national anthem, it's got to be Jerusalem. 100%.
Yeah, I think it should be.
And I think God Save the Queen would be the choice.
I want to hear some triumphal march like the Soviet Union has, or those good old Eastern Bloc countries where it's proper like, do you swing your arm in the air with your elbow?
You mean the ones that you do stuff?
No, not on about fucking Das Reich. Or Deutschland über alles. Well, it still is Deutschland über alles, technically. But, you know, not the Nazi version of that, or Das Reich, or fucking...
You love it, brothers, you told me.
You're the one who sat there and watched Hitler's Henchman for fucking... binge watched it.
Just because I watched Triumph for the Will. Research Know Thy Enemy.
No.
I'm a communist, aren't I?
Yeah, so you claim they had a non-aggression pact.
I'm a Marxist.
Well, they had a non-aggression pact. Either way, you allied with them, matey. That's your...
I never did. I'm allied with Nazis.
You did it, you absolutely did. You were von Ribbentrop, I saw you in the documentary.
Well, by then it devolved into something that wasn't communism, was it?
As it always does, sadly. Now, archery. Edward I Wars of the Welsh in the late 1200s. That is a century after Richard the Lionheart. So, big gap there. However, there is evidence the Anglo-Norman forces were using longbows before the Welsh Wars. Now, in the 1330s, there are references to yeoman archers. And in the reign of Edward III, the longbow is traditionally, although not entirely accurately, it is though, credited to winning battles in the 100 Years' War, like Crécy and Poitiers. Military historian Professor Kelly de Vries notes that in the Guest, the Robin Hood earliest ballads, there's no social stigma in using the longbow. Both the knight and the king use one. Well, the king would use one because he'd be trained to use a bow. Simple as. Trained in the arts of war, as you had to be as a medieval king. But De Vries also points out there's little fighting done with the bow. It's mainly used in sporting competitions between the characters. When Robin and his men fight, they pull out their swords. He says the style of archery most closely fits in the latter half of the 14th century and early 15th century. Even in later periods, though, there was an interest in archery. King Henry VIII was a champion archer. Of course he would be. Who's going to fucking beat Henry VIII in an archery contest? Head off. Tower London, head off.
I'd give it a go.
Yeah, and then you'd
And
have
then run.
Nope, they'd have caught you.
I know, yeah.
And he commanded everyone between 16 and 60 must own a bow and know how to use it.
Hell yeah, that's when it became law, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now that goes back earlier. Henry VIII actually reinstated that.
Oh, yeah.
Because before then it had kind of fallen out of fashion. Think of, if you're in England, or just say America too, Sunday afternoon, well, we'll say football for England and we'll say American handball for America. I refuse to call that football. Sorry, American listeners. Rugby for wimps.
I used to call it that. High five.
Air five. So Sunday afternoon sport, let's say, is a big thing. It always has been. Back in the day, it was archery. Everyone dropped what they were doing, went down to the village green, they got the butts out, which is what the archery targets are called. But, fired some arrows at it. Village competitions, practice. Oh, the bowling league. Think of it as a Sunday night bowling league, but with pointy things.
Yeah, man.
I'd go
I wish
for
we
that.
still did that.
So
I enjoy that. I would really enjoy it. Much more than football or, as you put it, handball.
Yeah, but when people are going to get pissed, they're going to be like shooting each other with bows and arrows.
But you see, the thing is, the beauty of it is, under English law at the time, if you did shoot and kill a man with a longbow, you were let off. Because it showed you a fucking skilled archer.
It was practice, yeah. It was only if you were practicing though. If you were training, and you accidentally killed someone, it didn't matter because you were a training longbowman. You were a vital asset. End of.
Don't think that's washed now though.
So you could accidentally, again, air quotes, kill somebody. Oh, I was training. Oh, alright, no problem.
He went to get his arrows back from the butt, and my arrow got caught in the wind and accidentally shot him through the eye.
It's like that old law in Shrewsbury, isn't it? It's okay to kill a Welsh.
Just about to say that.
With a longbow.
On a Sunday.
From a turret in the castle.
Oh,
that was the rule. You had to be in the castle.
They
had the slots in the castle.
Yeah,
so
the arrow
slits.
slits.
Shooting it through that, and you could get away with it. And apparently, I've heard this a few times that it is actually still law because it was never taken away. There is that is still there. You wouldn't get away with it in reality.
Because the law of murder trumps it.
Right.
Precisely, and because of now you've got the different types of the main
lure
laws.
thy
Yeah.
enemy to
I'd imagine that
victory.
Murder with a deadly weapon, isn't it, or something? You know what I mean? That will trump
Yeah.
the old law that used to be there.
But it was never
And
actually
never
taken
appealed,
away.
no.
think of the prep you'd have to do. You'd have to make sure the dude was Welsh. You have to invite a Welsh person to
Get to stand in the right spot.
Hey,
I'll
could
meet
you
you at
just
Shrewsbury
stand?
Castle at 12 o'clock on Sunday.
Yeah, I meet you at Tuesday Castle driving on a Sunday. Hey, hey Ben,
It's all
what are you
right.
doing with that bow?
I have a plan on that. Celebrity
Premeditated then.
big
Celebrity
shot,
get
though.
me
She
out
might
of
just
here.
hit a
Leave
shot
it in a
when-
castle. Stand on the X. It's all like a celebrity get me out of here thing. Don't worry.
It's Squid Game.
Yeah. It's a cross between Squid Game and a Tucker. What do they
Bush
call it?
Tucker trial.
Bush Tucker trial. There we go.
I don't watch a show, I just know it. He's
You're
gonna put
basically
a-
shooting a shopper in the random shop in the back.
Yeah, it would literally be like, hey, nowadays,
You
if
Welsh?
you need a sniper rifle, excuse me, are you Welsh? Stand on that X.
Oh dear.
But it was the sniper rifle of its fucking day and the machine gun of its day. It was the
Whoa.
two combined.
Six a minute, wasn't it? They
6 a
reckon,
minute.
Fire.
But I want to say this now. The English longbow, you didn't draw it back to the eye. This thing is 6 foot tall. You need to get as much power out of this as you can. You drew it, the arrow, the knock of the arrow, the string past your ear. And a trained archer has been doing this with bows since they were 5 or 6 foot. Well, they could walk with kiddie bows, and they gradually progressed to the 6 foot long war bow. It just becomes second nature to the point where if you train from when you're 6 to when you're, I don't know, 15, 18, 20, when you might go to war, it's like breathing to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many arrows have you shot every Sunday, and chances are in the midweek in your garden at closer distances?
the hats they used to wear would have the flap
Yep.
over the like leather flap. It would come over the ear.
Yes.
And that was because obviously otherwise you'd know he was an archer, wouldn't you? Because
Well,
he'd be
yeah.
walking around with his right ear missing, wouldn't
Well,
he?
you'd also
basically?
still have massively calloused fingers from pulling the bow back, even though you had your... I can't remember what the bloody thing's called now, and it's pissing me off. It's the leather strap that goes on your forearm, the right forearm, or left if you...
Gauntlet, is it?
It's like a gauntlet, but
It's
it's
like
not. It's got
one,
a specific name, and I honestly, it's gone out of my head, and it'll come to me at some point, probably during Weird News when we record that. I'll be like, boom, there it is.
You can shoot up to 350 yards or not.
350 yards at a draw weight of between 80 and 150 pounds, which in metric is about 75 to 85 kilograms.
And I'd say
That-
350 yards, about 300 metres. Just over, isn't
Yeah,
it?
you're looking about that 300 metres, yes. Absolutely.
320.
Definitely 300 metre range.
Yeah, yeah,
At least.
so-
Is that worse than a sniper rifle nowadays?
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
can
Oh, it's accurate.
you can hit a mile with a Barrett.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barrett 50 cal.
50
Yeah.
cal, you can get a mile.
I think the record's something like about 3, but they had to aim like 26 foot off to the left and about 50 foot above. It's all that to do with working out the windage, the trajectory, and the curvature of the Earth in some cases, which has been
When
taken
you're
into
going
account.
3 miles.
Sorry, flat earthers. Maths trumps you every time.
Now imagine an AI.
That's a
that'd be able to-
different night.
Imagine an AI that'd be able to measure that
They've done that.
perfectly.
Mate, they do it. The
Yeah.
spotter has a scope which gives him everything and gives him the total. It's all computer chip nowadays.
Wow.
Back in the day, they used to have to fucking work it out on a bit of paper. Doing actual maths. Now the spotter scope is like, yeah, you're on that target. Okay, well, okay, that's like 350 metres. You need to aim up to this point and aim up to that point.
Wow.
And they have it on the scopes, so just the
I'll say the
scopes.
scope will have all the bearings, everything.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll have all the gubbins on it. They
Yeah.
might even link fucking Bluetooth wise now. Who knows? I don't know what they've got nowadays.
So something for the Reeking could get you.
Well, not now. I don't know if ours are reeking away.
Don't know.
Where are we?
We're in
Oh,
Mansley in Telford. Nah, but some of them town, if they had a clear line of sight, which they haven't, it could
Easily.
potentially do it.
Easily.
Yeah, if I was stood in the open from here to the town centre and the centre of town-ish,
You're within a mile.
yeah,
so
within
easily.
a skilled sniper, 3, potentially.
Mad, innit?
With the right round, you have the amount. They have bigger rounds, more propellant in the round for
Ones with
Longer
coiled,
shots.
a coil trim, so
Oh.
it spins through the air.
Yeah,
to make
it's all
and
meant.
that goes
50
further.
cal.
Exactly.
They were the 50 cal of them days.
They
weren't
were, yeah.
That's
They were-
exactly what it was.
Yeah,
It's a barret.
They could penetrate leather, cloth armour, iron plate armour, even some types of steel plate armour.
All but the very best. If you go and have your armour made by one of the finest armourers of medieval Europe, yes, it might stand up to the English bodkin arrow, which is was tapered down to a very fine point, like a needle point, with a thicker tip, punching armour through, penetration.
But wood of steel obviously was very difficult to come by in
That's
them,
it.
in them
And,
days.
yeah, and to be...
So, as the English longbowman, you come across these guys. Personally, I would be pilfering their armour, melting it down, making arrowheads with the steel. Then I know my arrowheads are equally strong as their armour.
You see, they would do that, but the probability was that if you were the aristocracy and you killed that dude, you were entitled to his kit. Or you either kept it or you ransomed him back to his family, so maybe his son could wear that armour.
Yeah.
Because that armour was an expensive piece of family heirloom
Yeah.
that had been upgraded over the
Proper
years.
commodity, really.
Yeah, it was. It was a sign of being an aristocrat, sign of being a
Yeah.
knight. Is you had to have a suit of armour. That armour would go to your son. You'd have a few upgrades here and there, but the suit, basic suit, would essentially be the same. You might be wearing your great granddad's mail shirt, for example, underneath that armour.
See, I'd be all up for upgrading my weaponry after that. Right, I'll have some steel.
Now, that's evidence of the toil that longbow
Toll.
train. The toil, sorry.
The toll.
Toll. Toll.
The troll!
Evidence of the toll that longbow training and use took on archers can be seen on skeletons of archers found at the wreck of the Mary Rose, which sank near Portsmouth in 1545. Hundreds of intact longbows were recovered from the wreck in the 1980s, as well as the skeletons of archers, many with leather quivers still around their bodies. Technically, they didn't use quivers, they used an arrow bag, which were like magazines.
So what's the
A
difference with
bag.
a quiver then? What's
A quiver was used for hunting.
They go
Okay.
on
It was
your back,
convenient, you
didn't they?
needed to carry so many, but in battle you need as many arrows as you can. So these arrow bags were assembled in England, goose feather arrows, and you could only use the arrow, the feathers on the quiver on the arrow had to be from only one wing of the goose. They found this out. So if your arrow had right and left wing feathers in it on the quiver, it would spin out of control because the feathers in a goose work to balance it out. Right, but you only used it from one.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Also, archery, you know the expression keep it under your hat? You
Yeah.
said it earlier, that's some archery. You always had a spare bowstring under your hat to keep it dry. Wet bowstrings didn't have as much power.
Well, you know the old sticking your fingers up to the French. Because
Usually.
yeah, because it was to show that you had
still
your bow
got-
fingers.
Although that's...
Did you know that was actually a myth?
Yes.
That there is nothing in that.
So it's thought, well, that's why Churchill used it as well. He drew on that
Yeah.
fake news
Yeah.
for the V for victory symbol.
Yeah.
I'm flashing the V at everyone in the room, I don't mean to.
Yeah, I remember being told it and being like, oh wow, yeah, that's brilliant fact, and then it got debunked by
Yeah.
QI.
QI, yeah.
QI,
it was.
good old
Friend of
Steve,
the show,
good old
QI.
Stephen Fry.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has absolutely no relevance to it whatsoever. But that is something that the French used to do when
Yes.
they captured the
Bowman.
British in the
100 Years' War, yeah.
The 100 Years' War, if they captured an English bowman, chop his finger off.
Yep,
And
can't
they'd only
chop-
chop his one off, they only need his index finger.
Yeah.
And that's why then people would say that was something, because
The
it
flipping
was
the bird.
flipping them with only the one finger, because that's all they had left. But again, part of the myth of the V.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there did think that was, it's not, I'm afraid.
No. The interesting thing is there was a particular technique where you didn't just draw it back to the arrow, is you put everything you've got, and this is how you throw grenades as well, everything you've got in, so if you're you lean back into it, taking all the weight on the left side of your body. If I get right-handed, like we all right-handed,
Yeah.
right. Take all, and then you, as you release, you actually spring forward, bringing your left leg forward to step in front of the right. So you've literally put all your body weight into that. You've not only drawn the 11 stone draw weight, you're also bringing all of you back. All that force is going forwards. 300 metres at Agincourt, at Cressy, the archers outnumbered the knights. There might have been an army of 13,000, 7,000 are archers. Because these things are a battle-winning weapon against massed armoured cavalry charges.
10,000 would take out like 30,000.
Agincourt, exactly. 9,000 archers. 30, I mean, not all of it was done by the archers. The men at arms got involved, but they were on the flanks. All they funneled them in. Archers, boom, boom, 6 arrows a minute. All that force, bodkin tips or broadheads, which are like hooked at the tips.
Yeah.
So, but you don't shoot at the man in that scenario. You shoot at the horse.
Take the horse down.
Take the horse down, because then
Crush
the man.
the man, more than likely.
Because then the man at arms on that horse that night, he's just dead weight in armour.
Yeah.
You go up and you've got this little dagger called a misery cord. It's very thin, very pointy, almost rounded.
Taken between the plates.
That's right, under the armpit, into the
ribs.
heart.
Like, yeah, up there. Oh.
Weak
Nice.
point in the arm.
It makes you cringe thinking about that, because it is a nasty place, isn't
What a
it?
fucking cool name though, the misery cord. What a name. I thought it was the English archer's dagger. And
Good name for a
rounded.
band, that.
I'd imagine there's probably a band called Misery Cord somewhere.
But you imagine 9,000 archers, 6 arrows per minute.
Yeah.
And if they did that for 10 minutes, that's just 10 minutes of constant arrows flying through the air. And these arrows weren't small. So if you think, if that bow was 6 foot, the arrow was probably 3 foot minimum. So you
Yeah, it'd be about
that. A metre arrow, like with a head that would have probably been, I don't know,
like a needle tip almost, or the equivalent.
Went very, very, very sharp, but they came out quite wide, probably a good 1.5 to 2 inches.
Whistle, like.
I'd imagine they would make that sound, yeah.
Definitely.
Blot out the sun.
Speed of them.
It's the old noise, isn't it? I don't know if you can pick this on the mic, but it's you blowing it. That's what you hear. Every arrow, but magnify that by 9,000.
Yeah, it would just be
deafening.
You wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of it, would you? At the end of the day, because it was just a bloody hailstorm of arrows.
It was like advancing into machine.
And you ain't moving anywhere.
No, in some cases the arrow would go through your leg into your horse.
Yeah,
that's how much force these things had.
And then it kills
and
the
remember,
horse, and you're impaled to it.
Yeah, and remember, you've also got gravity. You're firing these things into the air with all that force, and they're coming down plus gravity.
Yeah.
But when you're firing it dead on, and which force is behind that? That's when it's going through plate. That's 300 metres you're bringing down horses and knights, poorly armoured knights. At 100 metres, you're picking eye sockets. You've been doing this since you were 6. Yeah. You can shoot arrows through bracelets if you want to.
But there are downsides, isn't there?
There are. No, the point is, obviously, you've got to train at it.
It can also affect your whole body, can't it? Injuries and things.
I mean, the skeletons of the archers of the Mary Rose showed enlarged left arms, twisted spines, and thickened joints around the left shoulder, left wrist, and right fingers. And substantial physical alterations showed what effect years of training had with a heavy draw weight bow could have on an archer's body. So you're basically deforming your own body to fire this. Much the same way that David Beckham deformed his spine taking free kicks. The way he used to curve his spine, that's giving back massive back problems.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He's got a whole film named after it, Bend It Like Beckham.
Yeah.
I think the sequel should be Bend It Like Beckham, Fuck Your Spine. Alright, so I think we can agree that basically Robin Hood is, I think, an amalgamation of various characters. Can we say that? I mean, he's metamorphosized into this one unified, rob from the rich, give to the poor.
Can we talk about his death finally, though?
Oh yes, the death, of course.
Go on.
Okay, so in the ballads, Robin stayed in the woods for 22 years.
Okay.
Can I just briefly just say that you remember that documentary, the timeline documentary with Baldrick, Tony Robinson? There's some bloke who was living as a medieval outlaw in the woods. He's been there for like 20 odd years. He goes home at winter.
He probably went home at winter because it's too cold to live in the woods. You freeze to death.
Unless you've got a tree village.
Nah.
But he was like, oh, I've got a horn to alert people and I've got my knife, and he's going on to it. He's living as a fucking dude in the woods for fucking half the year. He's a lunatic. And there was Tony Robinson just having a chat with him about how you survive in the woods. This guy's a nutter. He's living as a medieval person in the 20th century. What the fuck's going on? Sorry, I just had to get that out.
So he stayed in the woods for 22 years until he became ill. And he goes to the Priory, which is run by nuns.
And the head nun's his cousin, isn't she?
Yeah, to see his cousin, which is
the prioress.
Cousin of his wife. Actually.
That's right, the cousin of his wife.
Matilda.
Yes.
He goes there to be bled. That's what they did in them days.
Yeah. Medicinally bled, I love that. He's like, hey, not feeling well, gotta bleed you.
But his cousin lets him bleed to death.
Yeah, she lets too much out, kills him on accident on purpose.
And this is documented for Robert Hood. Remember that first suspect?
Yeah.
Which year was this?
1346. He did visit the Priory where his wife's cousin lived, and he did die there.
So he was only like 23?
First of all, 1323 he appears.
Right.
That's when he becomes an outlaw.
Right.
And 1346, that's 23 years later, or 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was probably 20 maybe before then.
Yeah,
So you could assume...
in his 40s.
Yeah.
It's probably about right if he's getting ill from him in the
40s or
woods.
50s.
40s,
Yeah.
maybe 50s, yeah. Well, if the part about him working for the king and things like that is any truth into it, that would maybe put him at 30s when he became an outlaw.
Yeah.
You'd have thought by that point.
Yeah.
If he'd been an outlaw, been pardoned by the king, worked for the king for so many years, then left again,
Took your retirement.
Outlaw.
A year later. He worked for the king for a year, I think.
Yeah.
So it could possibly be that guy.
Potentially.
But then again, that could have been added to that story at that time to make it... Oh, we know Robin Hood that went to the Priory and all.
Well, no, Rob Hood.
Yeah.
Oh, well, as we said,
Hood, sorry, and then...
Yeah, as we said, it was given to outlaws. If he was an outlaw before and he was like a prolific one, they might have called him Robin Hood, and the king went, I like that.
But this could have been with us for centuries. I mean, the story could have evolved until it was finally written down, the form that we know it. Mm-hmm. We could go back to pagan times.
Yeah, we could, yeah, absolutely.
So has anybody seen any truth in the oak tree thing then?
No.
Does that seem to be...
Is it
a
in
myth?
Sherwood Forest?
Yeah.
Probably a myth then. Because he wasn't in Sherwood.
Yeah, well this is what I'm getting from this.
But Nottingham basically is like staked its entire tourist industry on the fact Robin Hood lived there.
Yeah.
The thing is, Sherwood Forest was bigger than Barnsdale, it was more famous, had the King's Road in it.
The castle was there, which is where the showing of Nottingham lived. It was on the Great North Road. It was a stopping point off between London and York.
He may well have bandited somebody
He might
within
have done,
that woods at some point.
He might have done.
He may well have done, because I mean, if you're a bandit, you're going to move on. You can't sit in one.
That's it, travel around.
Bandited.
Yeah.
If you,
That's a good new word I've just made. Can I copyright that one?
copyright. Say it. It's legally binding.
It's copyrighted bandited. When bandits do their thing.
And it makes it more confusing because at the time every outlaw was called Robin Hood. He was given that name.
Yeah.
And was that because the tale was famous for centuries of an outlaw called Robin Hood, and that's why they used it?
I go for a bit of folklore in it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There was some dude who did that. I reckon there was some guy who did that where he was some yeoman, and maybe that became his alias through popular culture at the time as it was. Things spread, didn't they? People talking in the alehouses. You heard about that Robin Hood? Mm-hmm. Where's an hood he does?
There is other for instances of that, but I can't think for the life of me what there is. Who there is, but there is.
King Arthur for one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Merlin.
Merlin didn't come into the story until the Middle Ages. Neither did Guinevere, neither did Lancelot.
Yeah.
And back in the day, they didn't have a round table, but as was Celtic tradition, because Arthur was a Celt, they would have sat in a circle. There's the round table.
Yeah.
Gets evolved. He wouldn't have worn plate armour, but he'd have had chainmail, he'd have had the Romans left over. You know, it all becomes amalgamated until he's this knight in shining armour, which is about the 15th century. A guy called Gillian de Troyes, who was a French author, you know, introduced this whole Camelot and romantic mix to it, when in reality Camelot was probably Caer Cadam, which is in Cornwall somewhere.
I've been to Camelot. It was just
not Tintagel, that was invented later.
M6. Just about 40 minutes from Preston.
That's a casino.
No, it used to be a theme park. It was ace. I loved that place. First theme park I went to.
I think he's an amalgamation. But I love the town. I love the whole giving the rich, giving to the poor thing. I love the archery, the escapades, the chastity belts,
the outlaw hero.
Yeah,
the women swoon over. The men want to be.
Exactly. We all want to be Robin Hood. Who doesn't want to be Robin Hood?
That's it.
I look in tights.
We're men.
Mike, you played you were in a Robin Hood movie.
The only thing I've ever done.
When I
amateur dramatics. I was 11.
I was 4. It was my first. You remember when you were in like the very first reception class at school?
Yeah.
And they do their first play, and we did Robin Hood, and I had to stand there and sing Robin Hood, riding through.
Oh, that one.
That one.
Yeah.
And on my own in little tights, and oh god, it was so embarrassing. I remember being so scared. That was the first time I ever
It was the first time you had childhood trauma. It haunts you to this day.
That's what made me.
Do you ever
enjoy being on stage?
I was going to say, do you ever wake up and have dreams where you've like pissed your tights on the stage as a 4-year-old? No, good. No childhood trauma there. What was your line, Mike?
I was a merry man, one of Robin's merry men, and my line was, "That's a good idea, Robin."
Can you give me some gusto?
That's a good idea, Robin.
There we go. So loud it crackled. I love it. Yeah, that's my theory on this. I think there was a dude at some point, whether he was a longbowman or not, or he was using a shorter bow. But great archer, outlaw.
Yeah, and it's still relevant today because the cunts are still in charge of us.
There you go.
May have more from the church to the politicians. They're still corrupt.
We just need a new day Robin Hood.
And they're still fucking us over. So nothing's changed, has it?
Claire, what do you reckon? Because you're pissed on Baileys, that's why you've been quiet.
Pissed on Baileys.
Claire's been enjoying the Christmas party atmosphere.
I am here. I'm just feeling the merry vibe of the merry men.
Yeah, we're recording this just before Christmas, aren't we? So we're having a bit of a Christmas party at the same time.
Yeah.
I've got my mince pie. I'm Christmased out now.
I'm going to have a chocolate.
I'll eat a bit Baileys.
I'm going to have a chocolate tart soon, I am. Oh god, that could be a racial slur.
Might have to have a Christmas log.
Definitely not.
Yeah, let's look at the movies. The movies.
I'm glad you said that.
The movies. I'm going to go my top 3, or top 2 actually. There's only 2 top 1s for me: Prince of Thieves and Men in Tights.
Prince of Thieves, classic.
Number 1 for me, yeah, Prince of Thieves.
It's our generation though, it was 1990, 91.
Wasn't the song in the charts for like 30 weeks or something?
16 weeks. It was at number 1.
Oh Jesus Christ!
Not wet off, didn't it?
Yeah, you know you're a wet man, Mike.
Am I?
I love that song. I loved it. Still love it to this day. I do love that song. Obviously, when I was in Saudi Arabia, we had hooky copies of films back then, and I had a copy of Prince of Thieves before it had been released in cinema here, or about the same time or something. Either way, it was a laserdisc hooky copy, and I watched it every day, and my mum and dad were so sick of the film. And I loved it. I still loved it. And them were the days as well when we didn't all have TVs in our own rooms.
No.
There was one telly in the whole house, and it was taken up by me watching Prince of Thieves.
I would have loved to have done
that. At the beginning and the end.
I know what you're going to say.
Singing to Bryan Adams.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
But my 3, I've got 3 because it has to be.
Oh, the
Prince
Disney one. I forgot the Disney one.
Prince of Thieves, the Disney version, and Men in Tights. Men in Tights and the Disney version are on
On
par.
par,
Yeah.
But Prince of Thieves is up there.
Yeah.
I will give the newest Robin Hood a bit of kudos though.
Really?
The latest film,
The one with
the skinny guy, I can't think who it was.
Egerton, Tyrone Egerton and Jamie Foxx. That's
Yeah.
an awful movie.
I thought it was okay.
The look was good, right? But
it did look
it was
good.
two
There was good
actors,
action. There's
two
good
actors
action,
doing their two good actors doing their best with an awful script.
Maybe the script wasn't the best. Maybe I was a bit stoned when I watched it. I can't really remember.
Right, do you remember the
But I
start?
enjoyed it.
Do you remember the start where he's in the Crusades?
Yes.
And they're going through that bombed out blatantly Middle East city with their longbows held
Yeah.
like fucking assault
Yeah.
rifles.
Yeah.
And then the heavy repeating crossbows that are 50 cows open up on the only two towers that are fucking there to pin them in and they're just like firing arrows off like they're being ambushed like soldiers in Afghanistan with their weird medieval flak jackets that appear to do nothing.
I never really read into it too much.
I did.
I just watched
I
it.
did. And for some
I just
reason,
watched it a
and
bit
for-
stoned and
and for
thought,
some reason,
"Oh, that's all right, huh?"
all the fucking sheriff's men had some weird black metal gimp masks on.
Saying that, mate, I enjoyed the Russell Crowe film. as
Oh
well.
no, I hate it.
Accent was,
The accent
Atrocious.
ruins it.
but
I
I
don't
just
like
got past that and enjoyed the film because
do
again
you
it had
think it was-
good action.
I swear to
But
God,
I
we
Good
don't
action,
know
good
men
I
action.
think I'd watch anything if it was Robin Hood because I've always been such a
But
fan.
didn't Maid Marian leading a charge of children on their ponies into the French rear kind of go, that
Well,
wouldn't have... That's a bit
yeah.
pushing it, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
Children on ponies, led by Maid Marian. All right, fair enough. Maid Marian. All right, women can be top leaders
can
too. Look at
understand-
Princess Leia.
I can understand them using children as cannon fodder.
I can understand that, but not launching a decisive charge into the rear of the enemy.
That was a joke.
Prince of Thieves is superior.
Prince of Thieves,
Yeah.
yeah.
Alan
No,
Rickman,
Prince
as
of
the
Thieves.
Sheriff of Nottingham, steals it.
You know what? Yeah,
That's
if
the
that
show.
Kevin Costner's
Your
mullet.
hat out with a spoon!
Kevin Costner with his really convincing English accent.
Oh, he didn't even bother. That was his thing. He didn't
No,
bother.
at least he didn't try. Because if
No.
he'd have tried, he'd have probably made such a bad job of it,
Yeah.
and the film wouldn't be as good as it was. You can argue and say he'd been away for years, maybe he spent time with an American and picked up his
There was
accent.
no America at that point.
Crusades.
Yeah, but that accent might have existed somewhere.
No.
I'm just trying to help him. No, at least he didn't try and
Can
make
we
a fluff of it.
can we not forget Morgan Freeman in that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Again, brilliant. And one of
The
the,
Painted
first
Man.
times-
Painted
One of
my
the first
haunts my
times.
dreams.
You wouldn't go saying that nowadays.
It was one of the first times we really came across Morgan Freeman, wasn't it? It was one of his earlier big films that he's really known from, isn't it?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't know Morgan Freeman's acting career off the top of my head.
Pinpricks, was that
Wasn't
about
he
that
in
time?
7 before
Freedom,
that?
Glory. He was in that. That was 80s. That was before Prince of Thieves. Glory. I'm sure it was.
I'm sure he was in 7 as well.
Sam. That could have been early 90s though. That could have been after.
7 would have been after.
Yeah, Prince of Thieves.
Prince
After
of
Prince
Prince
of
of Thieves was 91, I want to say.
1991. We're looking at that
I think
era,
it was
definitely.
91 Prince of
I had it on
Thieves.
VHS when it first came out. I lent it to Ben and I never got it back for 12 years.
I loved it that much.
I thought I'd lost it, and one day he just turned up with it. This is yours.
I
Oh,
did
thanks.
fancy Marion quite a lot. though. And then I was really chuffed when I watched Abyss and I got to see a boob. I was well chuffed. I was like, I got to see Marion's boob.
See,
Oh, that
I like
bombshell.
I like
So
Marion.
many
When
life
she
in
was dead on the floor being resuscitated, but still, it was
See,
her boob.
I liked Marion, but Marion in Men in Tights is hotter for me. Even
Yeah.
though that
When
chastity
she's in-
belt,
when
she's
she's
hotter
in the
than
bath.
Yeah,
with the
Yeah,
curly,
just
the curly
covering the
gingerbread,
breast,
just
yeah.
covering the nipples.
yeah.
But it was enough to
Oh, yeah,
imagine.
I think it's time to call it a day now. We're going into
when,
seediness.
And I'm
when you're a teenager, anything.
yeah, Eurotrash, mate. Come on, we all watched that. That was nothing. That was just low budget porn. Let's face it.
No, Men in
Yeah.
Tights.
Men in
definitely
Tights. I won't even show to Men in Tights. So
Brilliant.
Film's got me through some tough times. That and Ghostbusters.
Blinking.
Blinking. Hey, Blinking. Hey, what do you call it? Blinking? No, I said Blinking. And a black sheriff, you know, he can work. Blazing Saddles.
No, it was a funny film. I do enjoy that film.
Yeah.
Right, and on that note, I think we should end. No, so I've been Ben. Thanks for listening. Don't drink the Flavour Aid. Don't join a cult.
I've been Mike. Thanks for listening. Peace out. May the force be with you.
And I've been Claire. Keep an open mind, but not so open that it dribbles out your ears. Like
And
me,
pissed on Baileys.
Baileys.
And Pete, you're on the spot now.
And I've been Pete, and I will still be Pete. It's been a pleasure to join you guys.
Yeah, it's
Thank
been
you
great
very
having you,
much.
mate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Been good.
Lovely. Merry Crimbo!
Merry Christmas to everybody out there listening.
Fuck Christmas.
Fuck you, Ben.